Damn, that was brutal. It was brutal. The San Jose Sharks lost 6-3 at home versus the Nashville Predators in a crucial game in the playoff battle between the Sharks, Predators, and Kings in the Western Conference right now. And this one stings. It hurts. They gave up 3 goals in the first period. It was an ugly start to the game for the Sharks. But then, in the second period, the Sharks scored 2 of their own to get back in the game. Nick Leddy, of all players, scored the first goal of the game for the Sharks, and Macklin Celebrini got the second. And early in the third period, Alex Wenberg tied the game at 3 goals each, and it looked as if the Sharks would make another crazy comeback to win this game. However, that was not the case, as the third period was arguably as bad as the first was, conceding another 3 goals, 2 at even strength, and 1 empty net goal. Fortunately, the Sharks still have a game in hand on both the Predators and Kings, but this loss and the Kings winning tonight definitely hurt the Sharks in the standings, and it will now be an uphill battle to make the playoffs for the Sharks with just 7 games left, including another versus Nashville, which is now surely a must-win game for the Sharks. Final score, 6-3. Here are 3 things we learned about the Sharks in their 6-3 loss tonight. Takeaway number 1. First thing we learned about the Sharks in this 6-3 loss versus the Predators. It is that the Sharks are still a very young team. This was a big game in the playoff battle. The pressure was on in the Shark Tank, and the team's star players played like their age. Askarov was the starting goalkeeper tonight, and he had a howler of a first period. Smitty was not passing the puck well and often giving it away and struggling in battles for the puck along the boards. Chernyshov ghosted again. Who knows if it's because of that nagging illness he was dealing with earlier this week. Sam Dickinson had a couple of bad turnovers with the puck as well. And outside of a wrestling match Eklund got involved in, he was not great offensively either in this game, and Michael Misa did not have a single shot on target in this game. The Sharks played like their age tonight and looked inexperienced in this big moment. Askarov and Smitty especially, who you could tell were shitting bricks by how shaky they were while going through the motions during the game. Askarov especially had a shocking performance, and he conceded 5 goals all on his glove hand side. The second one bouncing off his glove hand before going in. The second, third, and fifth goals conceded were horrible to give up for him. I was honestly surprised he didn't get pulled after the first period, and I would not have blamed Warsaw if he had decided to put in Ned in the second period and for the rest of the game. I'll say the same thing for Smitty. I would not have blamed Warsaw if he had decided to move him down a couple lines or even bench him for a little bit during this game, because he was looking very shaky while going through the motions. But going back to Askarov, again, it was a really shockingly bad performance from him tonight. He really needs to improve his shot-saving abilities, or else opposing teams will always be shooting the puck towards his right side, expecting that he will probably concede at least 2 goals from his glove side hand. Which leads into my second takeaway, the second thing we learned from this game. And it is that if the Sharks really want to give themselves the best chance of surprising everyone by making the playoffs this year, Nedeljkovic should be the starting goalkeeper and playing every game for the rest of the season. Don't get me wrong. I still believe that the Sharks have 2 very good goalkeepers, and Askarov is still a great goaltending prospect in the Sharks player pool. However, Askarov is still very raw when it comes to his skills, and because of his lack of experience in big, higher pressure games, along with his abilities still being not fully developed yet, it became clear after the first period that he wasn't ready for this game with high stakes like a playoff spot on the line. Ned is older and more experienced, and he has played in the playoffs before and is in great form right now. It would be better if the Sharks play Nedeljkovic for the rest of the year in order to have more security in net as they try to keep their playoff hopes alive. And finally, the third thing we learned about the Sharks in this 6-3 loss, it is that the Sharks find themselves in an interesting dilemma in regards to being in the playoff battle. If they make the playoffs, it would be incredible for this team, which many would argue is already overachieving as it is, being this competitive this late on into the season. However, it would impact better draft lottery odds and therefore a better spot in the draft in order to address their most dire need. But if they are able to address their most dire need in the most ideal way in the draft, it would mean the Sharks would have to wait to return to the playoffs until next season. That's tough. And the reason why I say this is because this game was very similar to the game versus St. Louis on Monday. It accurately summarized what Sharks hockey has been like this season. A great offense that can make comebacks and keep you in games. But outside of Shakir Mukhamadullin and Sam Dickinson, who has had many bright moments in his rookie year, it's a horrible defense on the other end. The third goal conceded was an inexcusable mistake from the defense. Dmitry Orlov had an awful game with a couple ugly turnovers, and the defense was also completely non-existent on the fourth goal conceded. And there's only so much Dickinson and Mukhamadullin can do until they start to make mistakes themselves while trying to carry the burden of the others like Orlov, Leddy, and Desharnais, who, outside of Leddy's goal in this game, were awful defensively. This game was yet another reminder of how dire the Sharks' defenseman situation is right now and how badly they need to draft or acquire quality defensemen in the offseason. And it does make you think that maybe it would be better if the Sharks decided to tank, even though it would be sad for fans to have to wait another season to potentially see their team in the playoffs again. I think that the Sharks deciding to continue their playoff push or tank in the final games will all depend on how they perform versus the Blackhawks, Oilers, and Ducks in the next 3 of their final 7 games before they play Nashville. Andres from AA Sports, those are my 3 things that I learned from the Sharks' 6-3 loss versus the Nashville Predators tonight. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what things you learned about the team from this game in the comments as well. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you enjoy my NHL content and my videos covering the San Jose Sharks, please leave a like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.